It's day one and I have this beautiful thing happening here. It's so beautiful. So I'm going to start with a little bit of concealer. This is the Lancome Efficarn, however this is pronounced, in Porcelain 1. And it says it's an under eye concealer, but it's just straight up skin toned. So it's what I've been using lately on my blemishes. And I've just been using that on a fluffy brush. Why don't I have a mirror in my face? It's just not really fair to expect any foundation to cover that up, I think, with absolutely no help. I'm gonna put on just a little bit on this redness, and a little bit on this redness. And for under eyes today, I'm going to go real light. I'm just going to go in with the First Aid Beauty. This is the Eye Duty Triple Remedy Balm, and it is quite pink. I don't know if you can tell that on camera, but it's actually like a very salmony shade. I'm just going to take that on the same brush, just run that right under the eyes, like a very, very small amount. This is the Kat Von D Lock-It Powder Foundation Light 45, and I'm going to put this all over my face. Surprise, surprise. That's ridiculous. Today I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Optical Blurring Brush, which isn't made for powder foundation, but I find that it works really well for powder foundation. Let me show you. This is like no kick up, and as soon as I do this, can you see, like, there's powder everywhere. So it is extremely powdery, which makes sense, but like it kicks up powder everywhere as soon as you touch it. And we are going primer free today just to see how this looks. It is Sunday at 5:15, so this is not going to be a super long wearing day. This is probably going to be 3 hours or so. It's just enough so we can see what it looks like on my face, really. So there's an initial application. Let me grab a mirror and see what it looks like up close. It looks pretty good. I mean, it got rid of all my shininess, which makes sense because it is a powder foundation. That's what it does. It's not like clinging into any dry patches. This looks fine. I mean, it doesn't look perfect, right? But it looks okay. At least it's not like a big red hole. It did not get rid of all of my redness. Like, I still have a few spots out here that I can see. But, I mean, it evened things out more or less, right? It's a nice weekend coverage, I think. Let me put on a second layer over places like this to see if I can get some of that to cover up. And you can see from this angle, too, it's not actually quite the right color. Even though it looks super pale here, it's definitely going on darker. This and this are not the same shade, so I better blend some down my neck as well. It's not like the most super crazy matte finish that I've ever seen in my life. It still has just a little bit of a glowiness to it. It feels really smooth, which is nice. I don't have any super dry patches, so I can't really speak to whether or not it would cling horribly. So there's my first impressions. It is, like I said, it's 5:20 right now. I'm going to go ahead and do some makeup, film some other stuff, and then I'll be back again in a couple hours to let you know some of my initial short-term thoughts, and then we'll continue through the week just as we did before. It is 8:30 Sunday night, which means this has been on just over 3 hours, and I have to say it still looks really good. I did put on just a little bit of highlighter here, so all that shine is highlighter shine. And it's not quite the right color, but I think it blended in pretty well, and because it is a powder, it doesn't feel weird on my neck. And it doesn't have the best coverage, but it has perfectly acceptable coverage. This giant thing still looks just about exactly like it did when I first put this on. My nose still looks okay, albeit it has a little bit of glitter fallout from these eyeshadows, but that's okay. My brows look crazy because my brows need help right now, so that's okay. It has settled just a little bit into my smile line there. Which makes me feel old. I don't like it. Please stop. Held up pretty well to an initial wearing. Obviously, it was only 3 hours, so it's really hard to judge, but it hasn't started falling apart yet. And the nice thing about powder foundation is I think that they're a little bit easier to refresh halfway through the day, so we'll see how tomorrow goes. But right now, I'm very hopeful about this foundation. Hello and welcome to Monday morning. It is currently 5:45. I am already excited to get home and go to sleep tonight. I'm so exhausted. But we have to do this. So I have already primed my face with Benefit Professional just down the center, so there's still nothing out here. And I am going to go ahead and do some spot concealing first, since I prefer to use liquid concealers, and I am going to use liquids before powders. Today I'm going to be applying this foundation with the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush because the bristles are shorter, so hopefully this will give me just a little bit more coverage. We'll see if that actually works out the way that I'm hoping it to, though, and I'm just gonna slap it on here because, as I said, it is already 5:45. It is now 5:47. I have to be in the car on my way to work in less than half an hour, and I am so tired, and my coffee is too hot to drink. I don't feel like that primer really made that much of a difference. It still feels super smooth, but it felt really smooth last night. But I have to say, it does feel incredibly smooth and velvety. It's a very pleasant feeling on my face to touch with my finger. It feels really nice. It does get rid of like the just general redness that happens in my face across my cheeks and nose, but like blotchiness that kind of happens on my forehead, I don't feel like it gets rid of, which to me honestly is not a bad thing because now it still looks like skin. It still looks very real, but it's definitely not the full coverage that I expected from a Kat Von D foundation. That being said, it's a powder foundation, so I probably should have known that it wouldn't be quite the full coverage. So I am going to go ahead and finish the rest of my face, and I'll check back in with you to let you know what it looks like as soon as I'm finished. Here is my finished look for Monday morning. I don't have on lipstick because I will do that later once I get to work. I need to finish this coffee, and by finish I mean chug, and by coffee I mean chai. I need to be out of the door in 5 minutes, and I have not gotten dressed yet, so I will check back in with you this afternoon. Hello, it is 3:30 Monday afternoon, which means I have had on this makeup since 5:30, so not quite 8 hours maybe, because I put it on a little bit after 5:30 because I did not get out of bed as soon as my alarm went off this morning, but anyway, moving on. So this is the Kat Von D Powder Foundation after about 8 hours of wear, and I have to say it doesn't look bad. It has worn off a tiny bit on part of my nose, but I probably rubbed it because this side still looks okay. I have a little bit of a redness showing through here, but that was true earlier. I do have some fallout and flaking happening here, which is not ideal, but that's totally separate issue. This actually looks okay. It doesn't look bad at all. It doesn't like look super gross and my lips look weird because I just tried to take off a liquid lipstick, so that's what's going on there. So honestly, for 8 hours of wear, I'm not displeased with this. So I am going to see what I can do to refresh it and get me through the next 5 hours. I have some blotting papers from Boscia. These are the fresh blotting linens. So I'm just going to take that all over first to see how much oil I can get off of here. Oh, by the way, did you see my nails this morning? They looked fine, and now look at them. They're disgusting. I'm so mad, but that's always what happens when I work at Sephora. Every time, no matter what happens. No matter what I'm doing, working in ops just destroys your nails. So there's a fair amount of oil on here. As I have said before, I am quite oily through the center of my face, so yummy. That also got rid of a fair amount of coverage there, but it also could just be because I pressed my face pretty hard. So I'm going to take some foundation back through the center of my face. And now my skin looks normal again, so this looks pretty much like what it looked like this morning when I left for work. So realistically, that's a pretty simple fix. You could just put this in your purse and put some blotting papers in your purse and be more or less good to go. Am I in focus? I can't tell. I don't have on my glasses. It is 8:30 Monday night. That means that I have had on this foundation since about 5:45 this morning. I did touch it up about 5 hours ago. So let's check it out. I do feel like I still have a good amount of coverage to the center of my face, unlike earlier when I checked in. It has built up just a little bit here in my nose, which is I probably didn't blot as well there, so it probably just caked in a little bit on my oil, would be my guess. But other than that, I mean, my coverage doesn't look great, and I have another spot cropping up because, yay, that time of the month. But other than that, it looks pretty much how I would expect it to look after a really long day. I'm actually pretty happy with that, and the touch-up was so easy that this would be an easy way to have a long day of makeup as long as I have 5 minutes sometime in the middle of the day to fix it. So let's call that good for day one, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Welcome to Tuesday. It is 2:11, and today I'm going to play around with putting on cream products under the powder foundation and see how that wears throughout the day. So I'm starting with the Maybelline Master Conceal. This is in the shade 10 Fair, and I'm going to put this on some of these spots that I have going on right now. Put just a little bit of that same concealer under my eyes, not a whole bunch, just a little. I'm going to go in with my Becca Low Lighting Sculpting Perfector. I'm just going to take this on a flat foundation brush. I talked about this a little bit in my collection video for all of my cheek products recently, like my face color products. But I don't know that I've used it on my YouTube channel. If I have, it's been a really long time. So I like this product a lot, and I like using it on a flat foundation brush because it's so easy to get that defined shape. And yes, I do often use my brush to control my hair, which is probably ridiculous. Then for blush, I'm going to use the NYX Cream Blush in Boho Chic. This is number 11. For highlight, I'm going to go in with the Benefit High Beam. Now it is foundation time. I'm going to go in with the Everyday Minerals Powder Foundation Brush and just put that on as you do, because there aren't really a lot of different ways to experiment with application with powder foundation. So these big old spots that I have are, of course, just something I'm going to have to live with this week, and we're just going to overlook them. But hopefully you can see, I love how this highlight looks coming through, and I think, like, coming through the foundation. And I think that contour looks really natural too, but just still definitely there. So I'm super happy with that. I do think I will pop on just a little tiny bit of powder blush. I'm going to finish the rest of my face, and I'll be back to show you how it looks before I leave. So here's my finished look for Tuesday. It is currently exactly 2:30. I really like this look. It's very neutral and very wearable, but it has just a little bit of that depth out here in this outer corner, and you could really build that up if you wanted to, but I wasn't feeling it today. So anyway, this is what my skin looks like. It does have a little bit of a pink flush going on, and the highlight is there, but super subtle. So we will check back in at the end of the evening and see how it looks. It is Tuesday evening. Oh, Ralph just came in. Hi, buddy. It is 8:50, so I've had this foundation on for just over 6 hours. Hopefully you can't hear the TV in the background now since Ralph opened the door. What is going on? I'm really happy with how this looks right now. It is definitely shiny, yes, but I think it's a good amount of shiny. I think it's a healthy shiny as opposed to a wearing too much makeup matte. And as opposed to a wearing too much highlighter matte, because it's not a glittery shiny, right? It's just a normal skin shine, and I think it looks healthy and natural, and maybe that's not your thing, but I'm kind of into it right now, actually. Have been the last few months. So I am very pleased with how it looks. What? Welcome to day 4. Is it day 4? It's Wednesday. It must be day 4. I hope that's right. This beautiful thing just keeps getting more beautiful. At least this one is getting better, but I'm mad about this situation. So I have moisturized this. Hopefully that will help the powder stay looking better over it for longer, but we'll see. Today I'm going to use the oil-free Smashbox Photo Finish Light. I feel like I need to use something that is not pore filling just to see how this works with a more normal type primer. This nail polish is Zoya Fay, and it's like really pretty purpley pink from one angle and then like a bronzy gold from another. And I love it, but I just don't know if it's the most flattering on me. But it's so pretty. So pretty. And I think it's a really under-talked about one from them. I don't know if they still make it or not, though. I'm going to throw on a little bit of the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw on my powder. Today I'm going to use the little sponge that comes with it, just for purposes of, I don't know what this sponge looks like when I use it, so let's give it a shot, shall we? I feel like that gives it a much more full coverage effect. It's a lot more, it's super matte. It is definitely heavier, and I feel like it's more noticeably the wrong color. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but I feel like in person it's looking darker applied this way, which I'm not sure if that really makes sense, other than maybe it's just because it's a more full coverage way of putting it on, so it's more obvious when the color isn't quite right. So here's my finished look for day 4. You can tell here it's not quite the right color for me, or at least I can, but I am being very critical, so I should probably bring it just a little bit down my neck. I don't know if I will though, because I'm lazy. But I like it very much. I did put on just a little tiny bit of Luminoso, a little tiny bit of a highlight and a contour, just like the smallest smidgen of it. So that's kind of what my face is looking like right now. I will be back this evening. It is 8:20. I've had this on for 6.5, 7 hours today, and I am so happy with how my skin looks right now. On camera, it's looking just a tiny bit shiny, but in person, it's like the perfect satin finish, like just beautiful. And I feel like my pores have never looked so good, especially across my nose. Like, my nose looks freaking flawless right now, which is crazy. I don't understand. I'm really, really happy with how this looks today. Like, so happy. This is beautiful. I'm going to try it tomorrow with a different primer, but again, applying it with the sponge. I'm curious if it was the primer or the sponge. So I will try one or the other again tomorrow, and we'll see if it still looks beautiful or not. Because if I could get my foundation to look like this every single day, I would be the happiest. Welcome to Thursday. It is 12:18 in the afternoon. I'm going to put on some Professional. And now that that is on, I'm going to pat this on using the same sponge that I did yesterday, the sponge that comes with it. So this is what it looks like with no concealer to help cover up these spots. You can see it actually does a pretty decent job. Like this, you've seen the last couple days. This is more or less healing. I'm starting to get a new little pink spot up here, but it's more or less covered up, and I'm pretty happy with that. I got a new lens, so let me come in really close so you can see what it looks like. There is my finished day 5 look. I think it's day 5, right? It's Thursday. It is 12:50. This thing is already getting disgusting, like so gross. So if this is in fact the best way to apply my foundation, I'm going to be really sad about it. So I might try a beauty blender, but I would guess that it would be very similar. So I will be back at least one more time tonight to let you know how it went. Welcome to the end of day 5 and the end of my review of the Kat Von D Lock-It Powder Foundation. It is 8:30. I put this on about 1 o'clock this afternoon, so this is about 7.5 hours of wear. And based on where it was yesterday, I am not at all surprised by what it looks like right now. It is just starting to break down, especially right here across the nose and kind of in around the edges of my nose. Everywhere else, it's starting to get just a tiny bit shiny, but not bad shiny. Honestly, these lights are really hard on shine, so it's never as bad as it looks on camera. And the coverage is, I mean, in person, I can still see a little bit of stuff going on here, but I think that on camera and in person, like normal speaking distance, it's not going to be a problem at all. So I'm very happy with that. I don't know how often I reach for powder foundations in my life, but there definitely is a place for it. I also see myself using this as a setting powder for a foundation when I feel like maybe it needs just a little bit more coverage. I could see myself using this as kind of a heavy duty setting powder. So I am very happy with this. Again, this is in shade 45, and I definitely expect to keep this and use it and love it, and it is wonderful. So thanks for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please don't hesitate to let me know. Leave me a comment, shoot me a message. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and that's also a great place to ask me questions. I love to have conversations with y'all, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!